The Transfiguration of Jesus is one of those magical and mysterious stories we find in the Bible, specifically in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. To provide context, Jesus decides to pray on a mountain, Mount Tabor, and he doesn't go alone. He is accompanied by 3 of his closest disciples, Peter, James, and John. This pivotal event presents a vivid and powerful image of Jesus, who transforms into a radiant being, bathed in glorious divine light, in the presence of the 3 apostles. Together with Jesus, they ascend this mountain, a secluded and elevated space, to dedicate time to prayer. In this serene and isolated setting, something wonderful happens. Jesus begins to shine with an intense and dazzling light. His face and garments become immaculately white, revealing a divine presence that surpasses any earthly experience. In this heavenly luminosity, the prophets Moses and Elijah appear, conversing with Jesus in a communion that transcends time and space. Matthew, in chapter 16, verse 28, shares intriguing words from Jesus, telling his disciples that some of them would not taste death before seeing the Son of Man in his kingdom. This prediction might have been an enigma for his disciples, and 6 days later, it starts to unveil its meaning. In Matthew chapter 17, Jesus, taking Peter, James, and John with him, goes up a high mountain and transfigures before them, his face shining like the sun and his garments becoming white as light. This luminous phenomenon emanating from Jesus Christ is analyzed by biblical scholars, some of whom suggest that this light might resemble the light that enveloped Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden before their fall. A light that, after their transgression, faded, leaving them in a vulnerability that made them aware of their nakedness. Therefore, this moment of transfiguration is not only a demonstration of divine power and glory but also a precious glimpse into the kingdom that Jesus mentioned to his disciples, a sample that was granted to Peter, James, and John, thus fulfilling the promise that some would see his kingdom before tasting death. This account is not just a story. It's an invitation to delve into the deeper dimensions of our faith and to contemplate mysteries beyond our earthly understanding, allowing us even for a moment to glimpse eternity in our temporality. When discussing Adam and Eve, many believe they were enveloped in a type of light similar to that which Jesus Christ displayed during his transfiguration. This suggests that before their fall in the Garden of Eden, both had a special glow, which they subsequently lost. For those of us who have embraced Jesus in our hearts, there's a poignant hope. We long for the day when our bodies, which may currently be limited by weaknesses or ailments, transform and become like that of Jesus Christ. And there's something even more thrilling. Even those alive at Jesus' second coming will experience this transfiguration. During the transfiguration of Jesus Christ, an astounding moment occurred. Moses and Elijah appeared and spoke with him. Fascinatingly, Moses had passed on, and Elijah had been taken to heaven in a chariot of fire. Despite living in different times, both were present during this event. This gives us a glimpse of what Jesus Christ's kingdom will be like, where we will meet all the great spiritual figures from both the Old and New Testaments. Luke's Gospel reinforces this idea. In chapter 13, verse 28, we are reminded of the sorrow of those who will find themselves outside God's kingdom, while figures like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and many prophets will be inside. While Matthew tells us Moses and Elijah spoke with Jesus, Luke provides a detail about their conversation. In Luke chapter 9, verse 31, we're told that Moses and Elijah, enveloped in glory, spoke of Jesus' destiny in Jerusalem, specifically referring to his crucifixion. This is significant because Moses and Elijah represent the law and the prophets, respectively, and both were there, bearing witness to Jesus' purpose and mission. In conclusion, Matthew recounts how Peter, filled with awe and admiration for this event, proposes to make 3 shelters or tents, one for Jesus, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. It's a human response to a divine occurrence, an attempt to honor and capture the mystical moment they were experiencing. Simon Peter, an apostle known for his impulsiveness and passionate devotion, was known to speak without thinking, often expressing something incorrect. This trait persisted until a pivotal moment, the day of Pentecost, when he was filled with the Holy Spirit. From that moment on, Peter became a remarkably different man. When Peter suggested building the shelters for Jesus, Moses, and Elijah during the Transfiguration, he made an error. His proposal reflected an intention to place Jesus on the same level as the 2 prophets, which was not appropriate. Luke clarifies that Peter did not really understand what he was saying at that moment. Matthew's account takes us further in this story, sharing that while Peter was still speaking, a luminous cloud enveloped them, and from it emerged a voice, which was God the Father's, stating, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." This declaration is not only a divine testimony about Jesus but also places Jesus in a unique position, being the ultimate authority in matters of revelation. God had never expressed such words about anyone else, as Jesus is the only one who has always fully pleased him. After hearing God's voice, the disciples fall down in fear. Jesus, in his infinite kindness and proximity, approaches, touches them, and asks them to rise, to fear not. Upon looking up, they see no one but Jesus, indicating that the heavenly vision has ended. As they descend from the mountain, Jesus makes a specific request, that they keep secret what they have seen until he rises from the dead. A question remains: why wait until the resurrection to share it, and why was it important to share it at that specific moment? It's likely that Jesus wanted to avoid misunderstandings about his mission and nature until his resurrection fully clarified his divine identity and purpose. The text delves into Jesus' divine nature, his purpose, and how the Transfiguration ties in with Old Testament prophecies, especially concerning Elijah. Jesus, described as God's perfect Lamb, would be tested for 3 years and eventually head towards his destiny on the cross, to redeem humanity's sins. However, the Transfiguration is an episode the disciples were to keep secret until after his resurrection and ascension. Later, as indicated in 2 Peter 1:16-18, Peter testifies to this Transfiguration, reiterating its reality and the power and glory manifested in Jesus. There's a link to Malachi 4:5's prophecy regarding Elijah's coming. The disciples, knowledgeable about this prophecy, ask Jesus about it. Jesus responds that Elijah already came, in a figure in John the Baptist, who was scorned and mistreated by men, similar to what Jesus himself would face. However, Malachi's prophecy also speaks of a great and dreadful day, interpreted as an event that will occur during Jesus' second coming, after the Great Tribulation. It's inferred that Elijah will return before that moment, and many believe he will be one of the 2 witnesses mentioned in Revelation, possibly alongside Moses, though this is a topic of broad debate and theological discussion. If you found this account captivating and valuable, I invite you to share it with your loved ones, family, and friends, so that they can also benefit from this high-quality content. Until next time, and may God bless you.